I'm Logan, this is Nadia.
Hello.
I'll skip the exposition and just get right to the stories. If you actually care to hear about me or my channel, check out this video. Otherwise, let's get into it. So this was posted to our child free, helping us start our family. This is an old story. The people involved are no longer part of my life, so no need for advice. This was just one of those, what the were they thinking stories. Background: my first husband was a mama's boy. He was his parents' rainbow baby and was accidentally conceived when his next youngest sibling was in her mid-20s. Needless to say, he could do no wrong, received no guidance, boundaries, or real meaningful parenting. In short, he sucked. His mother really wanted us to have children. I have no idea if this was her private crusade or if he was actively involved, but it doesn't really matter. The particulars: so I have a rather involved fish keeping hobby. I use an osmosis filter system that has a diaphragm membrane in it.
This guy's living the dream.
Just wait. I haven't read all of this one, but I've skimmed it.
Oh dear, it's gonna hurt me as a fish keeper. Isn't
I think it will.
Oh.
These have to be periodically replaced as part of regular maintenance. I had ordered a box from the supplier and they arrived while ex-husband and I were out of town. Ex-mother-in-law picked up the mail for us and brought it into the house. I feel like you can probably see where this is going. So in any case, a few months pass and I get a rather desirable job offer far away from mother-in-law. We start looking for houses, get our current one sale ready. We held off as long as possible as she would have an absolute fit. Finally, we couldn't wait anymore and took her out for a nice dinner. Our thought was that she'd throw less of a tantrum in a public location. We were so naive. This was the following conversation, edited and condensed for time. Ex-husband: Mom, we have something important we'd like to talk to you about. Can you put the wine glass down for a minute? Mother-in-law: You're finally pregnant! Me: What? Ex: Mom, no. Mother-in-law: Yes, you are. I made sure. Ex: No, Wait, what do you mean you made sure? Mother-in-law, looking at me, beaming: I poked holes in your diaphragm. I knew that you'd be excited once it finally happened. You are finally fulfilling your duty to my son. X and I in unison: What the? Mother-in-law prattles on about designing a nursery at her house, how the baby will be at hers overnight at least 2 days a week, how she just knows it's a boy by the way I'm carrying. It took me some time to collect myself enough to figure out that she'd opened the box of filter diaphragm membranes. She had about 4 functioning brain cells on a good day and was always drunk. So in her pea brain, she thought that she was getting birth control delivered and decided to poke holes in the centers of them. Now, firstly, I honestly don't know what contraceptive diaphragm looks like, but the ones for my filters are black, encased in a square plastic frame, and have a series of holes in the center already. How anyone could think that these were contraception is beyond me. So yeah, I had the locks changed. It took me a bit longer to throw the X to the curb as well.
Yikes.
Holy crap, what a psycho. Good on ya for getting out of there. What was the attraction to him when you met? We know what sucked, but I'm curious what you liked. OP said, I honestly don't know. Young me was stupid.
I mean, relatable. We all date idiots when we're young.
What did I just read? My God, I would have involuntarily blown a gasket and hurled loud, angry words at her. You are a far better person than I. Wow. OP replied, if she'd actually messed with birth control, I'd have been far angrier. But just imagine her sabotaging aquarium filters while rubbing her grubby little sausage fingers together and dreaming of non-existent grandchildren was just too funny. Yikes.
I'm so grossed out.
Yeah.
The fetishization of grandbabies is just or like children in general, but especially by people that seemingly only had children so they could.
Yeah, they feel like their children owe them grandchildren.
Yeah, obviously it's a soft spot for me in general, but yeah, that really grosses me out.
Another user said, I was with a guy for a long time whose mother would have turned out like this. When I was 17, she asked me if I was satisfied with him in bed, then quickly said that she knew how well endowed her boys were, so of course I was.
Ugh.
I said that he and I didn't have sex. She responded with, Oh, that makes me sad. We were, but it wasn't her business. When I was 21, I told her that I had no plans to have kids. She told me that that was very sad because we'd make beautiful babies. Toxic mothers are scary.
Gross.
Yeah,
Who's talking about their son's dick like that? Just,
very inappropriate.
oh my gosh.
Okay. This one was posted to R Off My Chest. I'm going to be a dad soon. I don't want this.
No, this is going to be depressing.
Hey, so I really don't know what to say here. I'm just kind of here to vent to real life people and get advice. Call me an asshole or scum or whatever it is, what it is. This might be a long post, so strap in and forgive formatting. I don't do this. I'm also a little bit tipsy, so I might not even make sense. Oh, poor guy. I'm 19 male, going to be a dad, and I hate it. Like, genuinely hate it. Walking around the streets right now, it's 1:35 at night because I hate the idea of being a dad and having a child, of sacrificing my dreams and ambitions for this kid. I have dreams and ambitions I want to follow. How am I meant to do that when I'm meant to be looking after a kid? She deserves better than me as a dad, and I don't deserve her as a daughter. Yeah, sure, it's my fault that my ex is pregnant, but when she's saying she's on birth control, who am I to judge? And stabbing holes in my condom. Oh, yikes. If this is true, then, I mean, dude's got caught like a case for never being involved. I've lashed out, I've yelled, I've done everything you can imagine to protest of this kid. It's so unfair on her because she's done nothing wrong, right? Well, oh, he's probably talking about the kid.
Yeah.
Um, maybe I should do what everyone's been saying and suck it up, but I don't want that. I don't want kids. I'm not dad material at all. I'm violent and harsh and crude and everything that makes someone a shitty person. I'm rough and unlovable, and I'm just going to rob this off of her. Everyone says they support my decision to not be in her life, but I see the hatred they look at me with when I bring the conversation up. The hatred and the guilt my parents look at me with like they failed as parents, which isn't the case. I'm just not all there mentally. Like, truly, I'm not. She's meant to be here any day now. The 12th is the official due date, and this was posted 9 months ago. But she'll never make it full term. She's ready to drop any day now. How am I meant to look at this newborn child in the face when I hold so much resentment and hatred towards her? How am I meant to pretend, to put on an act that this is what I want, that she is what I want when she isn't? Is it worse for her if I stay and pretend, or if I leave and save her the suffering? I hate her. I hate her so much. The mum, the baby, everyone who convinced her to keep the baby, everyone, I hate them. All they've done me in. I tried killing myself 6 months ago when I found out. I went to the park with a bottle of spirits and like 70 painkillers, but I guess I can't even do that, right? Because here I am writing out this on Reddit to a bunch of strangers. Everyone kept saying, wait till you see the first scan or wait till you find out the gender. You'll change your mind. You'll fall in love with her, but none of that is true. I feel nothing but hatred and resentment. Don't feel love or care or anything good about her. I know I'm going to get judged pretty harshly, but this is how I feel. Thanks for reading this far if you have. TLDR, X lied about being on the pill, poked holes in condoms. Now I'm having a kid any day now. I hate the kid. I hate myself. I hate everyone involved. I feel resentment towards the kid and nothing good. Please, if you have the time, read the full post for the full story. Oh, top comment. Bro, I think your ex sexually assaulted you.
Yeah. I have very little um, sympathy for men that are wayward with their sperm, regardless of their age.
Yeah.
As soon as your testes drop, you are in for a world of hurt. Um, if you are engaging sexually but not protecting yourself. At the same time, I do 100% believe like tampering with birth control or being dishonest about it um, does like count as sexual assault against
Yeah.
like men. I've said from day one, like with all the struggles women have, the one thing I'll never complain about is the fact that nobody could ever baby trap me. I have the uterus and I live in a country where abortion is safe, legal, and accessible. So, um, at least for the time being,
Knock on wood.
knock on wood, hopefully, that regressives here don't do the same as they do in other countries. But um, yeah, like I just feel like if I was born a cis man and I had functioning testicles, I don't think I would engage sexually with anybody that can get pregnant. People with uteruses, I wouldn't engage with them sexually until I was able to find a doctor to sterilize me and make sure that I was, as a child-free person, that's just like a non-negotiable for me. I would be too scared to chance it because yeah, this kid, unfortunate. I do believe that men should be able to abort their financial rights. If they can't
Yeah.
make the choice over whether a woman keeps a pregnancy or not, but they should be able to abort their responsibility from the child's life.
Yeah, because once the woman is incubating that fetus, she is the final say for whatever happens to that baby. But, if a guy tries to baby trap a woman, he pokes holes in condoms and stuff, and she is in a position to get an abortion or to, have that pregnancy terminated in some way, she can do so, depending on, the legality of where she lives or whatever. But guys can't do that. They're not the incubator. They don't.
And I know, like
Once
for
they release the jizz, they waive all rights to what happens to that fetus,
yeah, and I mean there isn't really a better way other than that. I mean,
other than to get snipped or
well, I just
just
mean without
abstinence.
once once a person is once a person is pregnant, like nobody really gets a say over what happens other than her. There isn't
Yeah.
really another way to have that happen other than just letting men say, okay, I waive my parental rights. I won't be signing the birth certificate. I don't want this kid to ever contact me. The problem is that even
That's
with
so
us,
stigmatized.
not even that, but even with a sexual assault allegation, which I do believe that if she was, again, it's a he said, she said situation,
Right.
but if she was tampering with birth control, I do consider that sexual assault. That's no different than a man stealthing and getting a girl pregnant. But the problem is, even if she was found guilty of doing that, the courts would most likely still make him pay because to them, the kid is innocent and still needs its like it still needs its life funded and it still needs to be taken care of.
Hmm.
So unfortunately, as a sperm haver, he if you're gonna be shooting your shot willy nilly around, I mean, what are you expecting? Like that's biology for you. Life finds a way, as it
Yeah.
were, even with untampered with birth control.
So I checked out that user's his account to
Hmm.
see if he had posted any other updates. Uh, he hasn't, at least not really in regards to being a father, but he does have this other post from 5 months ago, also
Okay.
posted to Off My Chest, titled "What the actually is this my life?" Wait, what the f actually is my life? This dude's got some spelling issues, but
He's 19. I mean, what are
yeah,
you expecting?
I'm I'm not reading verbatim. If I get the gist of what he's trying to say, then I'll say what I think the sentence is trying to say.
Sure.
Don't even know if this is the right sub for this or why it's even bothering me at all. Would appreciate some outside view because I'm losing my mind right now. My life just seems to be a series of shitty things happening one after another. If curses exist, then I'm definitely subject one to that shit. To get everyone on a basic understanding, I, 19 male, have a child with an ex, 19 female. Oh, so they broke up. I'll call her BM for baby mom. The two other people involved in this shit show are my brother, so I'll call him B, and his girl, who I'll just call G, cause why not? Okay, so baby mom is BM, brother is B, and brother's girlfriend is G. I come home from work today after a very long shift to be greeted by my baby mama. This is not uncommon because she comes around with our daughter. After getting home for a while and chilling out, she approaches me with a subject she wants to discuss for whatever reason. We sit down, and she decides to jump straight into the conversation by saying that B and G have invited her to a threesome,
Oh God.
which I find so incredibly weird, rightfully so, in my opinion. Because why would you want a threesome with your ex's brother and his girl? That's weird, right? Or am I just thinking too deeply about it? They are planning on having this threesome tomorrow, or today if you're in the UK, since it's past midnight right now. God, it feels so childish posting about it, but I need some outside opinions and views so bad because there's no one in my real life I can discuss this with. See, shit gets weirder too because this isn't the first time B and G have approached BM for a threesome. They did about a year ago when they were together. At the time, I didn't think too much of it other than being annoyed by the level of disrespect and cheek from them, but now I'm questioning if she took them up on the offer. She left at about 6, 7 in the evening and didn't come back until 12 midnight altogether, which is when she told me they approached her for one. Am I crazy? Am I blowing this out of proportion? Please, someone just help me wrap my head around this. Thanks for reading, and God bless. God bless.
This dude really knows how to pick them because, like,
Yeah.
this is just dysfunctional left, right, and center.
Uh, Top comment. I don't know much about this stuff, but if you're not okay with it, then just tell her because it'll be her decision if she's down or not. She either told you about it because she wants to ask for your permission to let her do it, or she just want to let you know that they asked her again. If she ever decides to do it, then clearly she has no respect for you, your child, and herself for getting into a threesome with her child's uncle. OP replied, I've told her I don't want her doing it because it's weird to sleep with your child's uncle. If she does, I've told her very clearly that any friendship we may have or any type of relationship in any way will not continue, and the only contact I'll have with her will be for our daughter. So ball's in her court, I guess. The ball is in her court indeed.
Yeah, well, it seems like in some capacity he's come to terms with child rearing in some way. He didn't seem to mention anything about,
Yeah, not being involved in the child's life.
yeah, or like that he still wants to kill himself. But maybe he does. I mean, this threesome
Yeah.
thing might exacerbate that a bit.
His last post was 4 months ago. Advice on how to get my foot in the door for fine dining jobs. Well, I'll skip that one.
All over the place, man.
Yeah.
But I guess if you're actually using Reddit, like,
Yeah.
other than to post fake shit.
Right. And I
Mm,
mean, I guess he's trying to get a good job. He's
yeah.
not trying to be a bag of shit and actually raise his child, even though he didn't want to be involved.
Yeah.
Okay. Next story. This is in Best of Redditor updates.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so this is a longer one. Has she returned? My female 50, daughter in law 24 female, gave birth and doesn't seem to want a relationship with me. So it was originally posted to relationship advice, am I the asshole, and legal advice, and it's a compilation of all of those. To clarify, while it is not 100% confirmed that the latest update is from the same poster, the locations are the same, the writing style is the same, OOP showed up in the Am I the Devil comments on multiple cross posts, and most damningly, the same typo for wood, typed as WOUKD instead of LD,
Hmm.
occurs in every post. Trigger warning, preeclampsia, threatening suicide, psychiatric facility, TBI, death, parental death. Okay, original post, March 9th, 2023. Hello, Reddit. TLDR, I'm looking for advice on how to build a relationship with my daughter in law and get over the rift she's causing since giving birth. My son, David, 31, has been married to my daughter in law, B, 24 question mark? Since September of 2020. Due to the pandemic, I never really got to know her because they only dated for about a year before they got married, and I didn't know about her until they had dated for about 6 months. I love my son very much, but I feel like our relationship has been rocky since they got married. He has a daughter from a previous relationship who is 10 years old, and since they got together, I haven't had the same relationship with her. I know this is partially because he moved out of my house very suddenly, without really saying anything, I may add, and I no longer get her on his weekends. I try to get them to bring her to visit when they have her, but usually I only see her once a month or so, and lately it has felt like she has been more distant when she visits. I think this is because B says negative things about me around her, and I find that unfair. They just had a baby at the end of January. She was induced due to preeclampsia and in labor for. Do you know what preeclampsia is?
Yeah, it's there's a few things that I think it's like high blood pressure while you're pregnant. There's also
Okay.
like gestational diabetes. There's like certain I can double check that for you if you want, but I'm pretty sure that that is what it is pregnancy induced high blood pressure, but let me double check.
She was induced due to preeclampsia and in labor for 3 days before having a C section. 3 days, my God. I had been in an accident a few weeks prior and don't have a vehicle, and my son refused to pick me up to be there for the labor at all or to see the baby in the hospital, but her parents got to see the baby and were in the parking lot the entire time. I called him while she was in labor a few times, but on the second day after her water broke, I called him and heard her snap at him to get off the phone, and he refused to accept any calls after that. I just wanted to know that the three of them were okay, though. She was in the hospital 2 days after the C section, and they wouldn't stop to visit me on their way home after the birth because she was hurting. Even though she had painkillers, she could have taken and she didn't feel right, according to my son. This is when I became concerned that she had PPD. My daughter ended up picking up her prescriptions and some groceries for them and got to see the baby that night. Her and B have a relationship that is apparently pretty good.
Just a side note here, preeclampsia is basically what I said. If you want any more information on it,
Yeah, give me the.
it can give you high blood pressure, high levels of protein in the urine, indicating kidney damage. But the basis of it is that it affects your small blood vessels and can lead to, it's very serious and can lead to organ failure and potentially death of both the mother and the baby.
Yikes.
It's serious enough that they typically will induce labor early if it's safe to do so, to just end the pregnancy as quickly as
Mm,
possible if the baby can come out at that point, just to avoid any serious side effects to either party.
yikes. I was supposed to visit a couple days after they got home, but she ended up insisting something was wrong and went back to the doctor, who apparently sent her to the hospital. My son told me they diagnosed her with postpartum preeclampsia, but I was pretty certain that that was only something that happened during pregnancy and went away after birth, so I was pretty sure he was confused. The day after they admitted her again, 5 days after the baby being born, with everyone meeting her but me, it was my birthday. I called her around 8 that morning to see what was really going on, but she didn't answer. A while later, my son called me and wished me a happy birthday and asked why I had called B. I admit I snapped at him and said she should be returning my call because I called her. I hung up on him, and maybe 5 minutes later, she called me. I told her she should have called me and that I wanted to hear her voice and hear from her what was going on since my son gets confused. I then asked her if this was a mental or physical issue, and she went silent before saying physical. I asked if she was sure, and she got kind of snippy and said they had padding on her bed because she has a seizure risk and she shouldn't be alone with her newborn, so she was pretty sure. I didn't comment on her tone because I was sure she was stressed. She was released the next day, and they came and visited me while I was at my daughter's watching her two kids on their way home so I could see the baby. I offered her some pillows to sit on. My son said she basically gave birth both ways. Like like she tore a hole open.
Yeah, it sounds like.
She got a cloaca.
Yep, it sounds like she had some pretty significant and traumatic tearing.
Pregnancy sure does a number on your body.
I mean, yeah, it's fucking beautiful, I guess. I've been told. It doesn't sound it. It actually sounds super
Horrific
dangerous
and
and,
terrifying.
yeah, and traumatic on everybody involved, but hey, whatever.
I offered her some pillows to sit on. My son said she basically gave birth both ways. Even though I knew this wasn't true, I wondered if she had some soreness that made him think this. She refused my hospitality, saying she was fine and felt pretty good. 2 weeks later, my son picked me up and brought me to their house to visit. I stayed for a few hours, and she didn't really make any effort to talk to me. She was just quiet and sat on the couch. When my son took me home, I asked why she was so unhospitable, and he said I had been rude while she was in the hospital, that she shouldn't have had to call me, and that I shouldn't have asked if I was a mental or physical problem because he had already told me it was physical. He also said I shouldn't have posted anything on Facebook before her about the baby being born, and that I was rude when he called me to make me take it down. She doesn't post on social media very often, so I didn't think it would be a big deal. Okay, so obviously, with stories on Reddit, you're only getting one side of the story. Maybe the 24-year-old, the daughter-in-law, has just cause for having issue with her mother-in-law. Maybe she's just being cold. It is kind of messed up to, imagine if when we got married, my parents posted photos of our wedding on Facebook before either of us had anything to say about it. That's kind of messed up.
I think a really good thing with Reddit posts of any kind of post that you're reading is that whoever is the OP is always going to try to make themselves sound the most sympathetic,
Yeah.
and that they're completely in the right. And there's a lot of language that you can listen for that kind of they give themselves away by accident.
Hmm.
I think this I think it's kind of funny in cases like this particular story how it's going so far that the mother-in-law is not actually doing a very good job at painting herself as a victim. She's openly acknowledging that she like made it about her. Why didn't you call me? Calling both her son and her daughter-in-law liars, bringing up whether something's a mental issue versus a physical one when it's not her business. She should just take what she's told at face value because
Yeah.
it's, I feel like she's a busybody and
Plus,
she.
if the daughter-in-law's in the hospital, she's probably distraught and in pain and not feeling very good. And oh, her phone rings. Oh, it's the mother-in-law. I don't feel like talking to her right now. Can you call your mom back? I don't have the mental fortitude to people right now. That's reasonable.
Well, sure, and again, it's like
I
this
want
woman
her to
just
call me. I want to talk to her.
this woman just gave birth and her mother-in-law is like, why didn't she call me? I need to hear her problems from her because you get confused. And oh, they
She doesn't
said,
respect her son. She doesn't respect her daughter-in-law.
and oh, you said she was like, her birth was super traumatic physically, but I don't think that's true. I think you're lying. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, so and this is stuff that she's all openly admitting in her story, and it's just always wild to me when people can write it out to this extent and still not see
Yeah.
how they're being a villain. It's too funny.
She doesn't post on social media very often. Didn't think it was a big deal. He hasn't picked me up to see the baby because he says he needs to be there to help with the baby. And they won't bring the baby to me because he says the baby isn't allowed in my house. I told my son I'm planning to quit my job to babysit for them. That's dumb. You shouldn't do that. But I haven't even gotten her return to work date, and she hadn't once thanked me for doing it. Overall, I feel like she's holding on to some very petty things. And did they ask you to quit your job to babysit for them? Do they want you to do that? Overall, I feel like she's holding on to some very petty things and is using them to keep me from my son and granddaughter. I want a relationship with her, but I'm missing some critical bonding time with the baby. And I'm going to it's a mush. It's critical bonding time. I mean, it's you got the rest of its life to bond with it.
Yeah, but again, it's
It's
oh,
about her.
it's
She
about
wants to
her.
mush on the baby.
It's about. I mean, I
It's
do
not
get it.
it's not
They
about what the baby needs.
look. I'm child free as they come. I don't have baby fever. I don't feel the urge to hold and mush on infants. But when my niece and nephew were really little, and they were little enough that they were just like, basically burritos, and you're holding them and they're just going to nap on you for an hour, there is this like, I had a moment of being like, I better enjoy it while it lasts because they're not in this phase for very long. And then they're going to be wanting to run around and play and do all the stuff I don't want to do with them.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not in any way supporting or endorsing the mother in law, but if you love the baby phase, they really don't stay in that phase for very long. And
Yeah.
so I do understand that bit of it, except she sucks and she's not entitled to be around this
Right.
woman's baby. And she's saying about critical bonding time for her. Postpartum is an incredibly difficult seesaw of emotions and hormones and depression and life change, that you should only be thinking about supporting the person that gave birth and her son, who's the father,
Yeah.
and in what they need. If they need time as a family to bond or to just be alone because the wife is overwhelmed, then even if the mother-in-law wasn't transgressing, they still might need that time to themselves. And she's making it about her, which is always the clear sign of an asshole.
The way she ends this gives me pause for thought. I really wanted to send a text and lay all my feelings out for her and just hash it out, but I understand there are probably cultural differences at play with all of this too, so I could use some advice on what to say. Well, you didn't say what culture your daughter-in-law belongs to, but that's
Yeah.
that's an interesting context. Relevant comments. One commenter said, "Lady, if you don't pull your head out of your ass, you're not going to be a part of their lives at all. You're not owed nearly any of what you seem to think you are. When it comes to their baby, they don't owe you crap. One, your son has two priorities when his wife is in labor: his wife and their baby, not you. He didn't have time to come pick you up or talk to you on the phone. Have you ever heard of a taxi? Two, she shouldn't have to take a pain pill just so they can stop by and see you on their way home. How incredibly selfish of you. They did the right thing and went straight home. Three, are you seriously questioning a doctor's diagnosis? Do you really think it's appropriate to ask her if it's physical or mental? Are you mental? Four, you're lucky anyone called you back at all. They are tired and they're learning how to care for their newborn, and that is after your daughter-in-law had a complicated labor and delivery and complications after birth. No one has the emotional bandwidth to deal with your entitlement. That's what it is about for me. I think they just didn't have the mental capacity. They didn't want to. She's in the hospital. She's literally in a hospital bed dealing with physical trauma.
Yeah, and
And
you might be sitting there twiddling your thumbs and have nothing else going on
I
other than
want
to
to see
obsess
my
about.
grandbaby.
Yeah, other than to obsess about this thing. But she obviously has.
Jesus, get a life.
She obviously does not like this lady. She already has even at the beginning of the post, she accused the new daughter-in-law of like, oh well, my previous his like my grandchild that he has from a different woman doesn't come see me, and I bet it's because she's talking crap about me. It's like, oh my gosh, like maybe you're just a really toxic person and nobody wants you in their life.
5. You inconvenienced your son and had him pick you up and drive you home. Again, taxi, Uber, Lyft were better options. Then you're complaining about his wife, who is exhausted and still healing. You were complaining that his wife, who is exhausted and still healing, was inhospitable. I'm guessing she was saying plenty to you in her head, but was too polite to actually verbalize it. 6. Do they even want you babysitting their baby? That's what I said. Did they actually ask this of you, or did you just decree that this is what was happening? 7. You do not post baby news on Facebook without the parents' permission. You were rude and overstepping. 8. If you want to send them a text, send them a sincere apology for being pushy and entitled and a pain in the ass, and promise you'll behave better in the future. OOP replied, I'm a grandparent and do deserve to be in the grandchild's life. I also deserve not to have my eldest granddaughter turned against me. Saying they owe me nothing is incorrect. The courts would agree with that. I love them both, so I don't want it to come to that, but I am owed that. 1. If he would have, so in a tier list, she's replying to each of the 1 point of the points. If he would have come the first night before she was in real labor, he wouldn't have needed to talk to me. We don't have taxi cabs, and the Uber would have been well out of the budget. 2. She refused to take any of the painkillers once discharged, period. That was selfish of her. Wow. It was selfish of her to not take painkillers. And I
Ay,
had
ay, ay.
I had food for them too, so my son wouldn't have to cook. It wasn't just for me to see the baby.
Sure. No, it was about you seeing the baby and you using all this other stuff to try and employ them into
Yeah.
not just going straight home, which is the right thing to do when they're exhausted.
Oh jeez. This is
I, I'm it made you-
I
me
am owed
having
this.
me having an Uber would break my budget, and I also cooked all this
Also, I
food.
quit my job. um
I'm a grandparent. Who gives a shit? If you look, anybody that ends up listening to this, if I can give you one piece of advice, if you are going to have a kid with the idea that they owe you anything in return, don't have kids. That
yeah.
this is some your children do not ask to be
They're not
born.
indebted to you.
Your children do not ask to be born. You decide you want a kid, and so you create them. And for you to put anything on top of them, especially if it belittles their existence to just, uh, I deserve to have grandchildren by you, and then once you have them, I get to dictate everything that happens from that point on, and I'm not going to respect you as a parent now because you've always been my kid. Just like save everybody a bunch of hassle and just don't have kids.
Yeah. Agreed. 3. That
Oh, good.
was
I'm glad the toxic mother-in-law isn't done.
so the commenters, just to reiterate, his number 3 point was, are you seriously questioning a doctor's diagnosis? OP replied, no, I was questioning if my son had the right information. He has relayed wrong things before. 4, I understand that from her perspective after reading some of the comments. However, in my family, it's just common to call back regardless, especially after having a baby. I see it's a cultural difference. 5, I can't Uber to where they live, otherwise, I would be there every day.
Oh my god. They're probably so happy you cannot Uber.
Yeah, oh
They
my
are
God.
probably so happy you are unable to do that.
If that was an option, I would. Oh, there's that spelled incorrectly. Would
Hmm.
I would have definitely jumped on it instead of having him pick me up. But Uber isn't in their tiny town. 6. I told my son after I heard B telling my daughter about her struggle to find reputable daycare without a year-long wait and how she was scared for the safety of her baby. They won't have to worry if I watch her.
Oh boy.
7. My son just said not to post pictures. I didn't realize announcing I was a grandma again would be a big deal. I deleted it. 8. Yeah, it would. You're announcing to all of your Facebook friends that your daughter in law had a baby. That's
I mean,
not your call to make.
look, all of us have made the mistake of posting something on social media
You
that
get excited, yeah, I guess.
somebody else was not okay with you posting. If she did take it down when made aware of it, then okay, good. That
Sure,
was
but the damage is done.
the correct course of action was taken. Everybody may. I think the problem is it's death by 1,000 cuts. That's not her only infraction here. Like,
Yeah,
if that was
true.
the only thing, I'm sure there would, even if, like, again, not to use stereotypes, but you give birth, you're exhausted, you're hormonal. that might set you off more than it might at another time. Again, I think it's more that this mother-in-law is just like time and time again just proving that it's not a small thing she's doing that's causing friction.
So, again, to reiterate, the commenter's number 8 point was if you want to send them a text, send them a sincere apology. OP replied, I told my son I was sorry for hurting her feelings when he told me. I've always apologized to him when he's told me I've done something wrong in her eyes, whether I think it was wrong or not. I don't want to hurt her feelings ever. I want her to know she doesn't have to run to my son, though. She can come to me, and I want a chance to explain myself to her. Okay, so the next post in this history was posted to legal advice 2 weeks later. I'm seeking advice on getting grandparent rights in Indiana. My son has two daughters with two different women. The oldest is 10, and he and her mother were never married. No custody agreement, they just have an informal agreement. The youngest is almost 2 months old, and he and her mother are married. I was under the impression that any grandparent could petition for custody visitation in the U.S., but the way I'm reading it is I can't unless my son is incarcerated or they aren't married. Is this correct? What do I need to do to seek joint custody of my granddaughters? What do I need to build a solid case? I've already tried resolving this without going this drastic, but his wife doesn't want to work with me. Oh my goodness.
Yep. Okay, there it is. Joint custody of your grandchild. That is wild.
Some commenters point out that she does not qualify for grandparents' rights in this scenario. She saw them on Christmas and they are able parents. And OP replies, I was under the impression that grandparents' rights were for when a parent is keeping a child from a relationship with the grandparents.
Oh my
Visitation would be
gosh.
more than once every 3 months or once a month, wouldn't it? I don't feel like there is much of a relationship left without any of them to torpedo. So if I sacrifice a relationship with them to have a relationship with my granddaughters, that would be fine. Oh my goodness. She's valuing this 2 month old blob more than her
I told
full
you.
grown son.
I told you. Children are just vehicles for which people with child fetishes to have grandchildren. I've heard so many people say, I didn't like, I basically, I, I only became a parent so I could be I slogged through parenthood so I could be a grandparent one day. And it's such a disservice. Like, it's a no wonder all of us are in therapy because of
Yeah.
normalized stuff like this.
Therapy is a huge market now.
Yep.
So after that comment, some commenters apparently drew attention to her previous post, the introductory one I read, where she said she's angry her son moved out. OP goes on, I can't travel to them currently. If I could, I would be over there as often as I could. I've apologized, even though I don't think I was wrong. If she felt slighted by anything I said, I apologized for it. Really, though, I don't think it should matter. You don't use kids as pawns. I can have a relationship with my granddaughters without her. Or I should be able to. That's what I thought grandparent rights were for. To make sure parents couldn't stop an essential relationship with grandparents without a damn good reason, like abuse or drug use, etc. Also, he didn't need my permission to move. I just didn't appreciate that he gave no indication that he was leaving. OP goes on to say, I've apologized for everything she felt I did wrong against my better judgment. I don't feel like I should have to continue to beg. My son says she's not preventing me from seeing them and appreciates my apologies, but I still haven't seen my grandchildren. Okay, so when you say, I'm sorry you feel that way,
That's not an apology.
yeah, that's not really an apology.
Nightmare mother-in-laws, man. They're a real thing.
Okay, so another update.
Oh
This
my
was
god.
3 weeks from the original post. The legal advice was 2 weeks after. So this update is 1 week from the legal advice post. Well, I apologize to my daughter in law for all of the things my son listed. Since I have received feedback about it being my son's job to, quote, handle his family, I told him my apologies to pass along and then I waited. However, I got no response from B. No thank you, no trying to bury the hatchet, nothing. Because she's exhausted by you. And 1 week ago, you were trying to like steal her child, basically.
Yeah.
Last Friday, I made an appointment with an attorney to discuss grandparents' rights and had the appointment on Tuesday. The lawyer told me I had a good chance with my older granddaughter, but would likely get nowhere with the baby. I filled out some paperwork to get the process started, but Tuesday night I was questioning if I was doing the right thing. I called
Holy
one of
crap, the first time she's had any kind of self awareness.
I was wondering if I was doing the right thing. Yeah. I called one of my friends to discuss and was seriously considering not moving forward with it after talking to her. Then, yesterday, I received this message from B. So, quotation mark, this is B talking now. This is B. I just wanted to let you know that friend told us you're intending to go for grandparent rights and also shared everything you've had to say about me.
Ooh.
Let me first say that I have not once kept either of the girls from you, and I certainly have not kept your son from you. He is a grown ass man. If he wanted to talk to you, he was free to. You have not asked to come over and visit since your son picked you up. You cannot expect us to, one, read your mind, or two, drop everything and come pick you up. We have a new baby. We have our own lives. I also have not said a word to you about what happened during delivery postpartum because I have no energy to argue with you. Son said you apologized, and I told him I appreciated it, even though it was not a real apology. You apologize for what you did to hurt my feelings, not for my feelings being hurt. I don't have the time for your drama. For the record, though, what you said was absolutely disgusting. I almost died. It had nothing to do with my mental health. Since you have decided to go for grandparents' rights, we will have no direct contact with you. All contact will need to go through our lawyer. You have been removed from my Facebook. You are not permitted to post any pictures you have been sent of my child on social media. And older granddaughter's mom, the 10-year-old granddaughter, feels the same way regarding the 10-year-old granddaughter. We intend to have something written up by probably by our lawyer, it's not written, by our, and sent to you by the end of the week regarding this and ceasing contact with us. I assume we will be I assume we will be severed with your served probably with your visitation paperwork this week as well. You will get no pictures or phone calls going forward. In fact, you will be blocked. I also hope you realize you will absolutely lose this case. Your house is not suitable to live in, and you would have to be able to pass a drug test. When
Ooh.
you lose, we will not resume contact with you. You lost your chance at being a part of our kids' lives by deciding to go in the most nuclear option instead of just communicating with us. End quote. Ah,
Again, she's writing this with her whole chest, like verbatim, and she's being like, I'm the victim here.
yeah.
Oh boy. This is wonderful.
So then the grandmother goes on. I tried to respond to her and tell her that I didn't want to go through with it anymore, and I reacted out of anger, but she wouldn't answer text or calls, so I assume I really am blocked. I called my son to tell him about the texts she sent, and he said he knew about it, and it was a lot nicer than what he wanted to send me. So that's where I'm at this point. I'm going to show my lawyer the text so that it can show how unwilling to forgive and to work with me she is. And hopefully it will resolve quickly so I can at least get visitation rights with my oldest granddaughter. Edit to add, I don't appreciate the nasty messages I have received or the barrage of nasty comments. I admit I made a mistake, but now this is my only option. It's clear that most of the responses from Reddit are from those of young people, not from my generation, as I have gotten different responses in other online support groups from people my own age who are also grandparents, many from my own culture.
From your own. You said you're in Louisiana, bro. Like
Indiana.
Indiana. Like,
Yeah,
what are you
still,
talking about?
my own culture. Some of the comments. Drug test? She says that I would have to, quoting, she says I would have to pass a drug test. I use medical marijuana to help with chronic illness, but it is still illegal where I live. If it's illegal where you live, then it's not medical marijuana. Like, I think it is. You know,
You can be using it medicinally, but it's not.
Yeah, in Indiana, I think they might have medical marijuana, but not recreational. I am quitting entirely since this is a possibility. Why the F is your daughter a better mother? Because they need to have better cultural examples. For instance, the oldest mother is also not from our culture slash race, and her hair is very different from her daughter's. She has no idea how to take care of her hair. It's all okay. So I'm going to make an assumption.
That this girl's the mother-in-law is black.
The 10-year-old
Yeah.
daughter is half black.
Okay.
The
But the husband's side of the family is the black side, because the grandma is worried about like protective hairstyles and
oh, probably,
like I'm
yeah.
thinking that her son and her are black, and the eldest and is either black or mixed, and the new baby is also probably mixed, and she's saying
And the mother might be like white
white,
or
yes. So
Indian or something.
she's worried that this white woman won't be able to like learn and take care of the mixed
So watch
baby's
a
hairs.
YouTube tutorial. I
Or
mean,
go to a barber shop. There's way to
yeah.
foster cultural community outside of your race, especially if you have children that are mixed and you want to make sure that they have touchstone roots with their culture. You don't need to involve a super toxic mother-in-law to do that.
I feel like I saw a post on, I think, Facebook a number of years ago, and it was a white guy who had biracial daughters,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the mother died,
Mm-hmm.
and the white father learned how to take after or to take care of his
Of
daughter's
course,
hairs.
of
And
course.
it's
It's something that
different.
it
It's
is
different texture.
100% something that is important.
Yeah.
Um, but it doesn't sound like these parents are negligent. It doesn't
Yeah.
sound like it doesn't sound. There's no indication here other than what this crazy mother-in-law is saying that these babies will be in any way whitewashed or kept from their cultural heritage. They'll just seek out other sources that aren't this woman.
So these are still commenters. This isn't OP talking.
Okay.
Oldest mother is also not from our culture race. Her hair is very different. No idea how to take care of it. It's always a mess. My daughter-in-law has taken some initiative in doing and styling her hair, but she's still not great at it. Okay, so these are comments, but they're quoting OP.
Okay.
My daughter-in-law taking initiative, doing and styling her hair. Okay, but she's still not great at it. So she's learning.
Yeah.
The girls need someone who can teach them how to handle basic things like taking care of their skin and hair. Oldest hair has been something I have encouraged them to let me handle long before the daughter-in-law came into the picture. Not taking care of a child's hair is a form of neglect. My daughter knows how to do those things because her hair and skin are much closer to theirs, and she can handle it with her own children. One last gem. I think this is also a quotation of OP. I don't feel I deserve to be treated better, but equal. We are both equally important in my son's life.
Mm.
She is obviously more important to her daughter's life right now, but without me, that baby wouldn't be here. I would drop the grandparents' rights case if I wasn't cut off. I reacted out of anger and desperation, but now it's the only option I have since I'm cut off.
You're gonna stay that way.
Yeah, they're going no contact with you.
Oh boy.
A
Well, they
few,
already kind of are. Like
yeah.
the son seems like he's low contact. He still gave her. She's lucky he gave her the respect of an answer to be like, yeah, I read my wife's text and it's actually nicer than I would have what I would have written to you. So he obviously is on the exact same page. This is not a story of like the daughter-in-law being culturally insensitive or disrespectful. It's about a mother-in-law who can't and doesn't know boundaries and won't respect them even when given the opportunity to learn.
So this is a post on Best of Redditor updates, and there's some
Okay.
commentary from the person who made this post, who amassed these stories.
Okay.
Um,
Assembled them.
yeah, and they said that a few people pointed out that there was a post that seems like it was from the daughter's perspective, but the OOP of that post requested that it not be reshared, and it has also been deleted. So can neither confirm nor deny. But I would
Okay.
be really interested in getting the daughter's perspective.
Sure.
However, some highlights include a mother-in-law that threatens suicide because they turned the whole family against her and won't let her see her granddaughters. Then is placed in psychiatric care for 72 hours and then released. A mother-in-law that called CPS and said they were starving and neglecting their infant. CPS had to show up. Mother-in-law also said that OOP is holding her husband hostage, and police show up. Thankfully, the police and CPS see that there is nothing wrong and all charges are dropped. And then OOP states she and the husband are going to try to move. So this could very well be the same circumstance
Mhm.
from the daughter-in-law's perspective. Who's to say? So this next post is a new account, but the person who assembled this story strongly believes it's the same OOP,
Okay.
same typo of wood, etc. This is posted to Am I the Asshole? Am I the asshole for removing my son from my will after our relationship ended? I really don't think I'm wrong, but I just need reassurance that what I'm doing is the right thing. I, female 50s, have a son, David, 30s, who is married to B, 20s. They have a daughter who is 4 months old, and my son has a daughter from a previous relationship who is 10. B and I had a falling out after their baby was born, and my son and granddaughters got caught in the crossfire. The falling out happened in March, and I know I did and said things I wasn't proud of, and although she hasn't apologized, I'm sure she feels the same way.
Oh boy.
It would
Oh man, the delusion is strong here. This is like almost impressive levels of delusion.
it would be too long to go over the history, but at the most extreme point, I did consult a lawyer for grandparent rights. During this time, my son had no contact with me, but when I dropped the grandparents' rights case, I asked for things to go back to normal. My son expressed that he wanted things to go back to normal, but that a lot of damage has been done, and he really didn't know if we could go back to normal. For Mother's Day, my daughter decided to take me out to dinner, and she begged David to go and bring the baby. The oldest, the 10-year-old, was with her mother. David eventually did agree on the condition it wasn't on Mother's Day, and he, the baby, and B came. B was quiet most of the dinner, but did talk to my daughter a few times. I guess they have a pretty good relationship. B held the baby the entire time and wouldn't let me hold or take pictures. Part of the falling out was over pictures and Facebook, so I found this to be petty. Overall, I would have called dinner a success. At the end, I hugged my son and told him I was proud of him for putting his foot down and coming to dinner with his daughter, and that I hoped he could continue to do that. Looking back, I know I shouldn't have said anything.
Oh man.
My son called me later that night and told me he couldn't continue to have a relationship with me. He said that B was their child's mother and he wouldn't ever bring the baby anywhere without her blessing. I was drunk when he called because I have a hard time coping, and I admit I lost it a little bit on the phone call and told him it was despicable that he couldn't man up to his wife, and that he should have come to see me on Mother's Day because I am his mother. He ended up hanging up on me. I called him the next day and profusely apologized. I know it was wrong of me to have said what I did, and I told him I want a relationship with him. He told me he couldn't do this with me anymore. I have been heartbroken ever since, but I understand, I guess. I called him last night and told him that I wouldn't be contacting him or his wife anymore ever, and that I respected that he wouldn't have a relationship. I also let him know I would be taking him off as my power of attorney and out of my will, so he never had to be bothered with anything from me again. I don't have much anyway. He got mad, called me a sorry excuse of a mother, and now my daughter is saying I'm manipulative. I really don't understand how I was wrong in giving him what he wants. Some comments. The editor of this post in Best of Redditor Updates added, people figure out pretty quickly that she is the same woman from the other posts. The scenarios, ages, and the way she often spells words with a K as a mistype, and her overall tone. Some of the comments, you need therapy. She replied, I have been in therapy to deal with this trauma. I've been told that I need to respect his boundaries, so this feels like I am. Why would I want someone who doesn't care about me making medical decisions for me? He does care about you. I believe that. But she's making it really difficult for him to be in her life.
Yeah.
Why would I want someone who doesn't care about me making medical decisions for me? He's also expressed I'm a hoarder, and I don't have money, so I don't know why he would want to be bothered with stuff in a will. Someone links the daughter-in-law's post, the one that got deleted, and asked if she really threatened to commit suicide if she didn't see the baby. OP replied, no, I said I wanted to kill myself because I felt like I had no one. Oh, okay. While I was on hold for 72 hours and received treatment, I got set up with my therapist to deal with some of the trauma, both from what happened now and past issues. I had a psychotic break. This is one of the actions I truly regret. Oh, oh man, we've still got more story to tell.
Oh man.
Oh
Well, I'm
geez,
not really surprised. She doesn't sound like she has a great support system.
yeah,
Uh, Probably of her own doing, based on everything we're reading here. Like, you know, she's been saying horrible stuff and is in the wrong because her friend ratted her out to her son and told
yeah.
them everything she was saying. So she
Hey,
has
by the way, your mother-in-law is saying this about you and your baby.
Yeah, so like she's obviously burning bridges left and right, and she obviously does have a lot of mental health stuff going on. Um Man, it's just this is a grave of her own digging for sure. And hopefully her therapist can help her see that, and maybe maybe with some time and a lot of therapy she'll get to a place where she's not blaming, "Oh, I'm in therapy because of this traumatic event." This is totally self-induced, ma'am.
So, just as a timeline, the original post was March 9th, 2023. The first update was 2 weeks later, March 24th. The next update was March 30th, where B gave her message. The next post, the one I just read, was May 22nd of 2023. And this next post is May 24th of 2023. So this is all happening in the course of like 3 months. Am I the asshole? Wouldn't let me post an update due to my post being violent. So here we are. After someone posted a link to what I believe is my daughter-in-law's Reddit posts, and I read some of the verbal beatings I got, I did some more reflection. I feel like her perspective of events really helped shift my view. I do want to point out there are several people who told me I was not wrong and that this younger generation has a poor view of family values.
And you know what I thought for a second?
She was actually,
Oh man, I was like,
for a
here we
moment,
go, some
yeah.
self-reflection, and oh man, here we
This
go.
younger generation has a poor view of family values.
By
I,
family values, they obviously mean being allowed to abuse everybody, and they
yeah,
still get to just skate by instead of being held accountable. Family values should mean taking score of how your actions affect the people you claim to love, and then trying to mitigate that,
I,
not blaming everybody else all the time.
yeah, no self-awareness.
Oh, I thought we were getting it. I was actually. Oh, she bamboozled me. I thought we were there.
I really believe I was judged so harshly because there are,
10,000 people told me I was wrong, but 4 people who are also
yeah.
old and probably shitty parents and entitled grandparents told me that it's just this younger generation, and I'm choosing to believe them.
I was judged harshly because there are so few parents slash grandparents on Reddit. I think there are a lot of parents on Reddit.
There's a ton of parents on Reddit.
Yeah,
I'm actually shocked whenever I see like much older people on Reddit.
yeah.
Not that I'm opposed to it. I've never
It is
expected
nice
it.
to get the perspective of like an 80-year-old on Reddit from time to time.
Yeah, for sure.
I went to my son and daughter-in-law's house, but it was mostly empty. Did you go uninvited?
They said they wanted to move,
Oh
girl.
yeah.
They said they were looking into moving. You might have went to an empty house.
I was afraid of this after reading her post and some of the comments. I found the listing. It's been posted for almost a week and is currently pending, but I can't find where they moved to, and all the photos are of the house mostly empty. I suspect they bought it under an LLC, so I am currently trying to figure out how to find out the name of the LLC and then find the house. I talked to one of their
Oh man.
neighbors, and they said they moved most of their stuff out around the beginning of May. So my son kept this from me for quite a while and didn't even bother to mention it at dinner. Do you wonder why?
Yeah. I am shocked. Shocked
Yeah.
Pikachu face.
I had a meeting with my therapist to help me through this, but I'm still a wreck. My son has just disappeared. I know everyone here is looking through my small 3,000 character limited posts and my daughter in law long gripes about me, but my son wouldn't do this on his own. His wife is absolutely manipulative, but it doesn't change the fact that I handled this all wrong and drove him further away. If I would have just sought out a relationship with my son and granddaughters without B, I don't think I would be here. I should have just played nice. One commenter said it when they asked me, do you want to be right or do you want to have a relationship with your son and granddaughter? And I chose wrong. My therapist told me to give myself some healing time before pursuing anything, but for now, my plan is to just save some money and hire a private investigator to find my son. And
I
then.
chose A. Hey, you know that good advice that I got before? I chose wrong. Let me continue to do so. I'm staying the course, guys. I'm staying the
I will
course.
continue to choose wrong.
And nobody's going to stop
I will
me.
hire a private
No
investigator.
amount of sound logic and learned experience is going to change my mind.
I'm going to track down my son and then rebuild my relationship with him and his trust so we can work to get him out from under her.
Oh,
I don't think he
man.
minds being underneath her
No, I don't think
or on
so.
top of her. They've got
Yeah, no, I was going to
proof
say.
they did that at least once.
Yeah, at least.
Again, I recognize I was wrong in some of this. I recognize I was overly demanding and critical. I was wrong in some of this, but I didn't deserve this. People who use kids and grandkids as pawns are evil. I will probably continue to seek advice, but it certainly won't be from this account. And whoever linked my other posts from my other account and told my daughter-in-law about this, screw you. People who use kids and grandkids as pawns are evil. I don't think the son is using his children as a pawn. I think he just is tired of your shit.
Yeah, he just needs to be away from you because you won't stop.
Comment from OOP. Screw everyone here. I am far from being a devil. Oh, after this was cross-posted to Am I the
Mm-hmm.
Devil?
Mm-hmm.
I am far from being a devil. I am not evil. The person who is evil is the one who took my family completely away from me. My daughter in law has completely manipulated my son. I'll admit I was far from perfect, but I don't deserve what you people are saying about me. I hope one day you guys feel what it's like to lose your child and grandchild to a manipulative person who just wants to cut their family off.
Look, that does happen, and it's bad and it's sad when it happens, but that's not what's happening here.
Yeah. So there is another update that was posted the same day as the post I just read.
Oh boy.
I am currently in the process of moving and have moved all of my things out of my old house and into my newly purchased home, leaving my old home empty until it sells. I had a neighbor that had a squatter issue a few years back, and I'm concerned that with my house being empty, someone will break in and try to claim squatters' rights. Is this possible in Indiana, and would it stop the sale of the house? So I don't think that's relevant to our story, but that
No.
could have been the son. Okay, a new update. 1 year, 5 months later
Oh
from
my
that
god.
post. 1 year and 7 months later from the OG post. So this is
There's been
quite a
some
lot.
time. There's
Quite
been a gap.
some time has passed, and it doesn't sound like it had a good ending. Title: Can I sue to get my son's ashes?
Oh my god. No. Oh no.
My son passed away earlier this year. We had a really rocky relationship over the last year or so, which was mainly caused by his wife. They separated after he had a work related accident that caused a TBI and had lasting effects on his personality, and she basically decided she couldn't do it and told him to get lost. They were separated when he passed away, but I don't know if the divorce had been officially filed for. They had 2 children together, supposedly, and he has an older daughter from a previous relationship. When I received the news of his death, I was able to see him before she had him cremated, and I requested some of his ashes from the funeral home, but my wishes were not honored, and I didn't want him cremated either, but obviously that was not honored either. I have reached out about a number of things, including his ashes and some belongings, and she is not willing to part with any of it, even though they were separated. She claims that they should go to his supposed children. She claims that they should go to his supposed children along with all life insurance policies he had and his work settlement. I say supposed children because I have reason to believe her children are not his. Can I sue for his ashes and belongings? Is there a way to have a paternity test done so that way his belongings and ashes can
Ugh.
go to his sister and I if we are the only living relatives? I don't understand why she would get them if they were separated and she abandoned him, and I feel like his actual living relatives would be entitled to everything. I am in Indiana, but they were located in Vermont. So one of OOP's Um, one commenter said, if the breakdown was his wife's fault, why did he not reach out once separated? How do you know they were separated, and how long was it for? OOP replied, and got downvoted for it. He did reach out before they were separated after his injury. His injury made him be able to stand up to her finally. I know they won't replace my son, but I would still like some things to remember him by. I will not be able to have a relationship with her or the kids if they are even his because she nuked our relationship after giving birth to her oldest and did the same for me and his other daughter's mom. Another commenter said, the way you talk about your supposed grandchildren really doesn't sit right with me. Makes me think like you were to blame for the falling out, not her. If the supposed children were good enough for your son, that should be enough for you to treat them with as much, regardless of how you feel. Also, he's left children. That money will help them. I want to feel sorry for you as you have lost your son, and I can't even begin to fathom that, but you just give out mean girl energy. OOP replied, getting downvoted. I can't treat them anyway because their mother won't let me around them and have convinced the oldest girl's mother as well. She has gotten everything, including the last time with him, and stole a year and a half of his life from me, and then she abandoned him. Well, another commenter, I'm beginning to see why she doesn't want you anywhere near her kids. OOP replied, getting downvoted, because it's a lot easier to just only have her family in her life, and she is selfish and evil and decided to tear my family apart over a personality clash and petty trivial things. Another commenter said, supposed kids? You mean your grandchildren? This post screams that you are just about the money. OOP replied, I don't just want money, I just don't think it should go to her. I would like some of his things because I would like something to remember him by. He built things I would like to remember and have things he got from my mother I would like back. I have reason to believe they aren't his kids. And then another commenter posted something and apparently it got deleted. OOP replied, thank you for commenting. His beneficiaries just automatically get everything? His wife made us estranged, and I blame her for him being dead. And I just don't think it's fair she gets everything after leaving my son because of his disability, including the settlement money from his job when they finish settling. He died alone in a hotel because she wouldn't take care of him and was punishing him for talking to me after his injury made him stand up to her. Edit to the post. How nice of you all to make fun of someone who has lost their child. You all need to take a hard look in the mirror at who the devil is here. I have been shut down at every turn for the last year and a half to have a relationship with my son and his children, and now a part of me is dead. I am grieving everything and trying to be able to get a piece of my son so I have something to feel close to him. Disgusting of you all.
Ugh.
That was heavy.
That was a wild ride and just a bummer. Like,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, yeah, like,
She might have been a nightmare mother, but like when my brother died, um, and he was cremated, his wife didn't need to give us any of his ashes. She didn't need to give us any of his things. I have a hoodie of his that she gifted me, a T-shirt. I have some of his ashes. My parents have some, and she has the most. She was the wife. Um, and I'll admit, in my grief, I wanted more. I didn't want, you know, I wanted my brother back, and I couldn't get that.
yeah.
But more of his stuff, more of his ashes. So, like, I get that. Um, I understand her grief, but now that her son is gone, she'll never, and I doubt the daughter-in-law is ever going to talk to her.
Yeah.
Um, she's never going to have anybody that is able to reason with her
Yeah.
son being gone. She's never going to have any
Also,
she's never going to reach self-awareness.
I think the part of it that, like, I'm very sympathetic to most of her posts, even like, this last post. Um, and, like, the last thing of, like, I keep getting shut down, nobody will help me, nobody understands, and you guys are, calling a grieving mother, like, an asshole. But, like, she's so deeply unlikable, and she does herself zero favors, so, like, I do feel very bad for her in the current circumstances that she's in. I'm kind of shocked that the son died. I really didn't see that coming.
Yeah, that's rough.
But, like, to now that your son is dead and everybody's grieving, and again, grief makes you do weird shit, but she's been doing weird shit for so long that it's, like, hard to just chalk it up to grief. To like now be I'm questioning the paternity of her grandchildren that she was literally
Yeah,
gonna go
based
to
on what evidence? I
like
mean,
she I
she didn't even say something like they don't look like him or anything like that. She's just I think she just has a vendetta against the daughter-in-law, and that alone is enough reason. So that was a doozy. The top comment says is quoting her saying, "His beneficiaries just get everything." Yeah, that's usually how it works. Well, that was bleak, but I think that's good for the day. Thank you for the input, wife. Until next time, folks. Thanks for listening.